Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Greater Philadelphia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce's Friday edition of Resolve It in 30, where you bring the questions and we bring the answers. Today, backed by popular demand, I am really thrilled to have with us Whitney Bayless from Santander Bank. Whitney was with us about 4 or 5 months ago with a very informative overview of lines of credit. Especially in this day and age right now, we have a lot of questions relative to lines of credit. So Whitney and Santander Bank have graciously come back and will be with us for the next 30 minutes. Not 29, not 31. We're going to resolve it in 30. Whitney is going to give us a little presentation. We'll have questions and answers, any discussion, and we thank you for being here. Before I get started, please remember to mute your microphone, okay? If you have questions or comments, put them in the chat box. And I want to remind everybody of 2 things before we jump on to Whitney in terms of her presentation. Number 1, the PPP program has been extended an additional 60 days, people, okay? So now it goes through the end of May, okay? So you have another 60 days. Please let us know if we can help you in any way, shape, or form with that. That's number 1. Number 2, the IRS, okay, has granted a 30-day extension on the filing of your taxes. So right now, as of noon on the 19th of March, your taxes are not due to the IRS with a postmark on it until the 15th of May. So that's all good news. With that, let me turn it over to Whitney from Santander Bank, obtaining a line of credit. Whitney, take it away.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you for having me again. I really appreciate it. It's good to be back. I want to discuss, first of all, the uses for a line of credit, why your business would need one, what you would do with it in the event you were able to obtain one. Uses for a line of credit is a short-term capital injection into your business, something you would use for working capital, inventory turnover, depending on how many days on hand you have with your inventory, for marketing, hiring employees, and to supplement your accounts receivable. If you're having your inventory days on hand just a few days longer, it may be a good option to supplement your accounts receivable. What you don't want to use a line of credit for, to purchase equipment, vehicles, real estate purchases, those are long-term financing options that you don't want to use a short-term line of credit for. You don't want to use it for renovations unless you expect them to turn over within the next 6 to 12 months. You don't want to use it for buyouts. These are all forms of something you would require longer-term financing for. The financial information that you would need in order to obtain a line of credit, wherever you're going to do that, at a financial institution, with a broker, you're going to need to be able to provide your recent tax returns, 2 to 3 years typically of your business and possibly your personal financial tax returns, your personal financial statements for each person that's going to guarantee the loan. Each institution is going to be specific here in the ownership, however, the percentage. Some are going to require guarantors that have a larger ownership percentage. Some are going to require 20%. It really depends. It's typically institution specific here. You're going to need a debt schedule. This may be provided by the institution that you're applying through. It's going to just simply be a list of debts that your business owes, typically when you took the debt out, what the original balance was, what the monthly payment is, and what it's for. That's more or less what the debt schedule entails. Interim financial reports. So how your business is performing currently. We're 3 months into the year here. How have you done in the first quarter of 2020? How are you doing last year in the first quarter of 2020? Just so the institution can get a good idea of a comparison where you're at year over year in the same time frame. A balance sheet. A balance sheet is going to include your short-term and your long-term financing. It's going to include your where you're at in gross sales, where it's going to include a lot of information that an institution would be interested in knowing to see your year-over-year performance. Your profit and loss. how much money is coming in as opposed to how much money you're paying out. Those are all statements that I guess are very good for an institution to get a good idea of how you're performing financially. The things that you should be prepared to discuss, the things that you speak to your lender and you need to have top of mind if you don't already. Hopefully there are some things here that you haven't thought about. Hopefully some of the things here are things that you know like the back of your hand. You need to know what the use of funds will be for. You can't go to the bank and just say, I want a line of credit. I need $100,000 and give them amount. You need to be able to explain to them what you think would support your business and why, what you're going to use it for, and how it will help you come out stronger at the end of that. You need to be able to discuss your year-over-year profits and losses, specifically those that are outside of the 10% range, whether it's 10% up in profits or 10% down in losses. You need to be able to discuss why that occurred. Losses aren't always a bad thing. It's possible that you purchase more inventory, that you have more on hand. It's not always a bad thing. You just need to be able to explain it. Number one thing here is, how has COVID affected your business? It's had a negative and positive impact on different businesses, industry specific, obviously. You need to be able to state how you were able to, if you had a plan, I guess how you planned through the pandemic. You need to speak to PPP if you utilize PPP, the EIDL loan if you use the EIDL loan. You need to be able to speak to your customer base if it changed throughout the pandemic. But there's obviously a lot that would be business specific here, and you just need to be able to speak to it.
Whitney,
you need to be able to. Yes.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Because there's so much wonderful information here. One of the things that becomes important to to the community that we serve, and you touched on it earlier, is making sure that you have all your documentation, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And your documentation includes obviously your tax returns. Okay. Your documentation includes your all your sort of banking records. And let me ask you, because most of our businesses understand the need to have all their paperwork in a row. But one of the things that we have found over the years is the importance of like I use the term without soliciting any support, and that is like a QuickBooks type of environment, that people can work in. Because when we talk about a lot of these, statements and things like that, they are embedded in any type of accounting, so to speak, software. Can you comment on that for a second? That's number one. And number two, in your experience, Whitney, okay, relative to getting a line of credit, okay, when should somebody start that process? Should I be thinking that I'm going to drown before I start it, or should I be doing it as I'm setting up my business or as my business is successful? So those two questions, let me know.
Okay. All right. So the answer to the first question. So QuickBooks or any accounting software similar there too, doesn't have to be QuickBooks.
Right.
I think that the ability to run a successful business depends a lot on your discipline to be able to retain accurate reportings. And I think that QuickBooks and again, other software systems as such allow you to do so. I think that is, I obviously impress upon business customers, make sure that this is right, make sure that this is correct, because even QuickBooks, sometimes has some issues. And so you need to go back in as the business owner and double check, are things balancing on the balance sheet? Does my profit and loss, is everything carrying over from my income statements correctly? But I think accurate reporting is number one here, because it's hard to give advice if you don't have the correct information.
Right.
So I hope that answers your question. Feel free to elaborate. Okay. Okay, and additionally, your second question was in regards to, remind me?
Yeah, right, that's okay. The timing around when an entrepreneur, a small business owner, seeks to be, seeks to do the process of getting a line of credit.
So this is a great point that you make here. I oftentimes see business customers when they needed the line of credit 2 weeks ago, a month ago. That's when they've gone in too deep and are realizing now that they need additional capital to carry out their business plan. So make sure that when you're doing a business plan, that this is something that you keep in mind. The best time to get a line of credit is when you don't need one. That's the absolute best time to get it. I highly recommend lines of credit just because as a business owner, you don't know when opportunities are going to come up that you may not be able to, that you may not have the capital to finance immediately, especially if it's short term. If you get a good deal on a product that you could pick up really quickly with a line of credit and you wouldn't have access, you wouldn't have the ability to purchase it just with your current assets, with the cash that you have on hand. It's a great time to have a line of credit when you don't need it. That's the absolute best time. Now, it's never too late to apply for a line of credit. I don't want to deter you from applying. However, I can't emphasize it enough. The best time is when you don't believe that you need it.
Okay, that's great. I'm sorry for the interruption. Please continue.
No, you're fine. I guess also onto that, what I'd like to add is that it changes your financial situation if you're trying to get a line of credit and you're in a little bit too deep. We can look at your balance sheets, at your profit and loss statements, and we may see that at that point you may not be eligible because you're undercapitalized. So again, get a line of credit as soon as you see that it would be fit for your business.
Okay.
But great question, because I see it all too often. Okay, next would be the business history and the managerial history. Be able to speak to who's running your business, who's running the finances of your business, who's running the operations of your business. Be able to speak to each one of their strengths. It may be the same person, it may be different, but be able to speak to their education, their knowledge, their experience, where else they've worked possibly. Anything that you can highlight, I would recommend you do so. Be able to highlight yourself in your business. If you've going into the next tab here, you may have received an award. I'm sorry. You may have received some type of recognition that you'd like to be able to speak on. Lenders love that. Underwriters love that, to see that your business is doing well and to see how well the managerial side of your business has done historically and possibly currently. So I think that those are always very good things to speak on. And last but not least, how this short-term capital will benefit your business. Going back to the top of the slide where it says what the use of the funds will be for, you need to be able to speak to, okay, if I have $100,000 line of credit, I would be able to use it for this. And you may not know at the time because you may not need the line of credit at the time, but you could give a hypothetical. If I have a $100,000 line of credit and I have this product become available, I can purchase that product at this price, and then I know in 60 days or in 90 days, I can turn the entire product that I just purchased for X amount of dollars, and I purchased it for X amount of dollars. Being able to give hypothetical situations are always good because it kind of helps the underwriter and the lender see what your plan is for the funds. Do you have any questions?
Is this your last slide, Whitney?
This is.
Okay. So I have a couple of questions and a little bit
Okay.
of Okay.
Okay.
I think what becomes really important in the next, 13 minutes or 14 minutes that we have here
Mhm.
is really almost setting up. Okay. So let's you and I, kind of tag team this together. And folks,
Okay.
this has not been practiced. So Whitney and I we're on the runway with this. Okay. So Whitney, I am a new business owner. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a service business. All right. And let's pretend that my service business is a cleaning company. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm setting up my business. I do, I start with the, individual. I hire a couple of people. Things are going okay. I'm working really hard. I'm a year in. I'm successful. I.e., I'm making a profit. I'm 2 years in. I'm making a profit. And now I say to myself, okay, I want to go after, commercial rather than residential. In order to do that, I'm going to need to hire more people. I'm going to need more physical equipment, more trucks.
Mm-hmm.
This, I'm going to need to present a different image rather than sort of a mom and pop organization that everybody loves to, a far more corporate organization. Gee,
Mm-hmm.
let me sit down and think about what I need. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I'd like you to comment on, and I bring this up with our people all the time, the importance of not only having your books, but having a forecast, okay? Thinking through what you think the future will hold and literally putting numbers down on paper so that when I go to you, Whitney, to get a line of credit, okay, I not only have the rationale, but I have the numbers, in my mind, to go out 1, 3, 5 years. Can you comment on that?
So I can. I think that the best thing you could do in this situation is, like you said, have the forecast, have your numbers, and then go to your trusted banker that you've built a relationship with as well. Because through PPP, I think a lot of businesses have learned that one of their closest business partners is actually their banking relationship manager. So I think that going to them with the information, I think supporting your case, presenting your case, and having an open discussion. I don't think that business customers historically, I have found, have tried to withhold information, possibly on their opportunities, always loving to speak about their strengths, but maybe due to their shortcomings or opportunities, they're not as willing to speak about. However, I think that this is a really good time to speak on those. So if
you bring up a really good point, and you bring up a really good point, Whitney, and that is, number one, the critical importance of a relationship with a banking institution, with a financial institution. Okay. And I know it's been hard in the past year, for us to physically walk into the bank branch. I get that. Okay. But there's still that ability, to communicate with your bank on a consistent basis. Because like you said, what you want to do, and the PPP program really magnifies it, okay? And that is, the fact that being able to at least go to a trusted banker and say, okay, I want this line of credit. This is what I want it for. Here's my strengths. Here's what I think the opportunities are. But this is where I think I'm falling short, and I might need to bring an additional person on to shore that hole up, right? And I think that becomes, when you say that, that's really, really critical as we move forward, not only with, the institutional setting and being able to help people, but also on that personal level, because then, there's information that can be shared between, both parties.
Correct. I think that if anything has came to light in the last year, having a relationship with your banker has been a very good experience for those business customers who do. I can say, personally speaking, I understand my business customers' businesses significantly better now. Before I asked all the questions, how many employees do you have? How frequently are you paying them? We have a much stronger bond and relationship at this point, just due to our communication through that. So going off of that, I think that having a banker that understands your business and their needs is very, very important. So going back to the cleaning company. So you have 2 years in business now. You've been successful. You're showing profits. And now it's time to grow your business, because each business has business stages, right? They start, they grow, they mature. There's a different cycle in every stage of business. Okay, so if you come to me and you have a cleaning business, you're looking to grow, we're going to have a conversation top to bottom, discussing your financials, who's running your business. And like you said, you may be able to bring somebody else on to focus specifically on that need. It's something that we'll discuss. So when you're growing your business, you need, I want to say a balanced amount, but a moderate amount of short and long-term capital. Okay, so you're going to use equipment financing to finance additional equipment, vehicles, what have you. You're going to use possibly term loans for hiring employees, because depending on what your turnaround will be, businesses may be going out for RFP. You don't know how long that turn will be on your income from hiring those employees and obtaining that commercial business. The short term you could use for marketing. The short term you could use for additional cleaning supplies and cleaning products that you know you're going to go through, like I just said, in the short term. So it's important, especially as you're growing your business, to make sure that you use financing properly. So in that stage of your business, you're going to use short-term financing, equipment financing, and long-term financing, all of which you could apply for at the same time. So it doesn't have to be one prior to the other. It could be simultaneously.
And that's an important point, Whitney. That's an important point. So it's not only just the line of credit, but if I'm growing my business and I'm going to need other instruments, so to speak, to help with that growth, that's where not only the line of credit becomes critical, the fact that I've had my books and kept my books and filed my taxes, appropriately for the couple of years becomes critical. Knowing the things that I want to do and thinking about those becomes critical, and having the relationship to be able to, talk openly about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that face you as a small business owner. That's really going to help in that whole process. So let me ask you, Whitney, you've got about 8 minutes left, and you've been doing this for a long time. You have wonderful relationships through Santander with your small businesses. Let me ask you, if you could name just one or two things on the positive side that really help people to be ready, and one or two things on the negative side that you have seen consistently over the time that you've been doing this that have hurt businesses. Like I said, in the 7 minutes that we have.
Okay, sure. So I think number one right now, especially where we're at in the market with where we're at in the pandemic, I think a business owner's capability to switch to digital is so critical in this moment.
What do you mean by that?
So when I say that, I mean, you're not able to conduct business in the way you did before, even at a branch level. You cannot walk into a branch and make deposits like you used to. Depending on the institution you're with, you're not able to go in at 5 o'clock anymore. They may have shortened hours. And your business may not have changed. Your business may have longer hours. So the use of cash management is going to be huge here. If you can switch to a check deposit machine rather than coming to the bank and depositing your checks, if you're using a debit card and using your ATM card to go to the ATM and deposit checks through the ATM, that's a possibility, right? The ability to do wires online, where maybe you used to go into the bank and sit with your favorite personal banker. It's possible that you need the ability to send payments ACH, you need to send wires, and you're not doing that from within the banking institution because the confines of our banks have obviously changed throughout this. We're working with, limited staff, we're working with limited hours. So therefore your resources have been significantly impacted. So I would say that is probably the number one opportunity here, is your ability to go digital. Also, for for service businesses, sales businesses, before we were shaking hands, we were networking, we were out, we were at many of your events. When was the last time we were together? I think the last time was at a gala, possibly with you guys in sometime early 2020, right? We're not doing that anymore. Okay, so your ability to meet over the computer, I guess to interact, connect, and still build your network is critically important in the times that we're in, and to do so, again, digitally. That's going to help you connect with other business owners that you're not able to go shake their hands and go see what they have to offer, your vendors, who you're selling to. It allows you to market in a different way than you've done in the past. You may need short-term financing for that. So all things to think about. The opportunity, I think, honestly, I have to go back. Number one is your relationship with your banker. I think that is so critically important. As I said earlier, having someone that understands your business, you may have to use a few different lenders. To just think that you're only going to use one in the beginning, it's not necessarily realistic. Because every institution has a little bit of a different appetite. Okay, so if you go to your bank and they say, listen, we're not doing that type of lending, it's not a personal attack on you. It's possible that they're just not interested in, they don't have an appetite for that type of lending right now. But they may have somebody that they can refer you to. Hopefully they do. And right, hopefully they do. And because I can't do everything that I'm presented with, but I think that what I ensure that I do is connect them with somebody who is able to handle a loan request like theirs. I can't guarantee it, but I know others that have appetites that we may not have. And additionally, the other opportunity is, I think if the last year has taught us anything, is that we really don't know what the future holds. I think that we're still in uncharted territory. I don't think that we're outside of that. I think we can possibly see the light at the end of the tunnel where a year ago we couldn't. But I think that having the access to capital and ensuring that you have the access to capital before you need the capital is huge. It really could be a game changer in times like these. And I have plenty of customers who have told me, oh, I'm so glad I took out that line of credit, because they haven't used the line of credit in 3 years. And it's possible that for the 3 months that their business was closed, that's what they relied on. They've since paid it back, businesses came back, but that's critically important to business owners.
Well, Whitney, I want to thank you for your time and your expertise and your thoughts relative to how these businesses, how our businesses, any small business really approaches the critical importance of not just the paperwork, that's easy stuff, so to speak, but really thinking through that line of credit, as we said. Should you have any questions, folks, certainly Santander and Whitney Bayless are there to help you. And Whitney, I really want to thank you for your time and your consideration today. Okay. I also want to remind you, you're very welcome. It was a pleasure. I also remind everybody that La Mega is our super duper sponsor of our Resolve It in 30. La Mega is the #1 Latino language station in the Philadelphia area, and they always are want to do business with our members and have special packages starting at about $350 a week. So call La Mega at 215-426-1900 and talk to them and see what you can do. Whitney, we really appreciate your time. We appreciate your consideration. We thank Santander for your expertise. Everybody be well, have a safe weekend. And remember, Santander is there to help you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.